To the whole let me help you lunatic thing that I've talked about before. So, since I've been traveling, since I've been where I'm at right now, I recently, literally yesterday, decided to start asking people about where different places are to shower, but mostly I was asking if anybody knew how to do hair, because for one, I only know how to do certain things, and where I have been living at for the past couple years, there are no people of my ethnicity. I mean, there's the Negroes with straight hair, Africans and stuff, but I mean, they didn't know how to do my hair texture. They wouldn't know how, because their hair is straight, so Eritreans and Ethiopians and stuff. So, I thought that maybe now I should ask some people about if they know anyone that does hair. And I guess I know asking about the whole shower thing is gonna make things bad, but like I've said before, whenever people feel like you need help or you need them, or you may ask them for something, they're gonna start acting funny, treating you funny anyways. Because the whole guilt thing I talked about, at least I think I did. Maybe those videos are unlisted. They're the more recent ones. I know I've mentioned this before, but more recently I did make a playlist that's public, so the videos are still visible on the playlist about how, what is it titled? Nomadic life is depressing. And it's mostly because, one, people's reactions, which I could honestly say a lot about that in this video. It's people are just so used to seeing one thing and people doing one thing and living one type of way, to where anything else is quote unquote bad or weird, or they feel like you're hiding something or lying about something because you're not doing what they're doing or what they think you should be doing. So anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I asked around about people that can do hair and about the homeless showers. And of course, what commonly happens is that if somebody doesn't really want to address you theirself too much because they feel like you may need something specifically from them, they'll go get somebody else that they feel, they'll get somebody else that isn't them. But sometimes someone that they feel maybe could quote unquote help you more, and it's I just feel as common with these types of people, the situation went a little more left than it really had to be honest, because I was pretty much just asking for directions, also about doing hair, hairstylists and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, the lady that was eventually told to talk to me about it, she of course went on that rant about how she quote unquote helps people, and how what was it? Pretty much one of those manipulative things where somebody gets mad because you won't tell them your life story. And it's so annoying because people that really do sit around telling people their life story, what do they get told? You're lying, you want people to feel bad for you, you want pity, you're trying to manipulate somebody into helping you or caring about you or something like that. Just different weird accusations. I honestly don't really see a reason to run around telling people my life story anyways. I don't really see a reason for anybody to do that, because it's going to be used against you in some form or fashion, and at the end of the day nobody cares. So, and I don't remember even yesterday, so not really. And of course, especially with the type of cash for kids system abuse that I went through, if I was to tell somebody that and about all the retarded stuff, the first thing they're going to do is be like, oh, well, maybe you are retarded and you just don't want to admit it or accept it. So I'm going to put that in the back of my head and always remember that something's wrong with you. Or I would have to leave some stuff out, but there's just no reason to do that. Nobody deserves to know anything about you. Definitely not a random person. But it's so many people are entitled to that, especially toxic people that call themselves quote unquote helping people. And it's see, I thought she was buying me a BMW or something. I just asked for directions. It's like people will blow anything out of proportions to make themselves feel like the almighty good guy, and it's really just annoying. She acted like I asked for something. But anywho, so she went on one of those rants about helping people and how she's always liked to help people and how she can tell I'm leaving some stuff out and that something's going on. And it's really annoying because honestly, really no. And one of the most annoying things about this throughout the years to me is that when you really are in a bad situation and really need help, nobody, well, honestly, even people like this, they don't really care, but people admit sometimes that they don't care. They act like they just don't believe you as an excuse to not help you. Which is because, one, they don't care, two, they're a cash for kids system stuff and they get paid to help abuse you because it's their job. And then the fly monkey enabler thing, I mean, they don't usually get anything out of it really, other than maybe like the whole rather it be you than me, so they're not getting tortured too much, but you are. But anyways, people say stuff like that. They say it's none of my business, I'm minding my business, that's between you, your mom, and your dad, and different things like that. Nobody cares when you actually need help, but then when you, I don't even say when you're helping yourself, because as of right now, I mean, it's not even like a helping myself situation. Right now, I'm just like pretty much traveling somewhat or visiting a place, but still while camping. So it's not even like that anymore for me. But even when it was like that, and when I was like homeless and was just helping myself, still, all of a sudden, that's when people want to call somebody. That's when people want to help. That's when people want you to quote-unquote get help and go to quote-unquote resources that don't even exist. Definitely not for people under 18. So it's like, it's just really interesting how the Let Me Help You Lunatic complex is. And honestly, throughout the years, I've really contemplated re-uploading, or at least making them unlisted and making them like, putting them in the playlist so they can still be visible there, but I don't want them to take up like channel space. I don't want people to come to the channel and that's the first thing they see. But I really did think about re-uploading all my Let Me Help You Lunatic videos. But as of right now, the one that I have a video of that's like re-uploaded is still the crazy voodoo cult lady situation. That's just like after the fact. Because that whole situation started off with law enforcement and some other people telling me that quote unquote I needed to go get help that doesn't exist instead of helping and saving myself, which is the only option. And so I was forced into the voodoo cult ladies cult. Because if I went there, quote unquote, the police weren't going to take me and lock me up, which honestly, this still wasn't true in the end, but of course, I can only remember little bits and pieces, but I'll still try to like talk about what I remember that happened. And you really got to watch out for stuff like this, but it seems like, as I always say, when you have certain call in your life or you just have certain generational curses or things like that, you're going to attract these types of people. But it also seems like when it comes to certain organizations or just like certain environments, I guess, I don't even really know how to put it, but it's like these are the first people you're going to run into sometimes. It kind of reminds me of how Pastor Stephen Darby said commonly when you first go to a church, sometimes the first people you run into are the religious witches. That's what it reminds me of, but it seems like when you're in certain situations, especially when you go to certain places, some of the first people you're going to run into are Let Me Help You Lunatic type people. You're just maybe like toxic people in general. And before she started talking, I could honestly already pick up on the fact that she was going to be like this. I really didn't want to talk to her. She really was making me uncomfortable since before she started talking, to be honest. But, anywho, she told me about how she used to be, in social work and how she did a lot of different types of work, so that's how she could, quote-unquote, tell that something's up. And it's very annoying when people do this to me, or really when I see people do it to other people as well, when they try to act like they deserve information out of you, even information that really may not even be there because they're just like assuming stuff. And they feel like, pretty much, they feel like some type of detective or like some type of, I don't know, interrogation speaker, if that's what it's called. they act like they're trying to like interrogate something out of you because they deserve to know every single thing about you and who you are and where you come from. Because, quote unquote, you need something from them that you really don't need. And, what else is it? I also have never liked when let me help you lunatic type people will, like, tell me that they can, quote unquote, tell this about me and tell that about me. They can tell I'm hiding this and tell I'm hiding that. And a whole bunch of bull crap like that. And they'll be like, you may think that you're not telling me the truth, but I can see the truth and I can see this, and that, and I know you're lying about that, and I feel like you're lying about this, and I feel like you're doing that, and I feel like you're doing this, and pretty much I don't like when people act like I'm hiding something, but they're seeing through the bull crap. Kind of like when somebody told me, I tricked you into doing this, and you pretty much told me that, no you didn't, and you didn't trick me out of jack. I hate when people do stuff like that. And it seems like when you're in certain situations or when people think you're in a certain situation, it's like you, or at least I don't know, I can't even really say that, but at least me anyways, I run into these types, and I know I'm not the only one. I think this is really common for anointed and prophetic people in certain situations, like either actually homeless or just traveling. But that specific example, that last one, pretty much, I knew what the person was trying to do, but they were trying to like ask me about certain cartoons and what shows I watch to try to like manipulatively get my age out of me. And this person isn't quote unquote white, but they live in a mostly quote unquote white area. And as I always say, most white people don't believe I'm older than like 10 to 12 years old. Some of them max 14. So in those types of areas, it's like a lot of people are like that. But it's so interesting because when I was in Oregon, I had this one lady tell me that I was lying about my age to try to make people feel bad. And it's like, I hate when people do that. But of course, she was also like a Mexican immigrant. And I noticed that, as I've talked about before, the immigrants always have like their certain feelings towards street kids. And of course, like the racial feelings about specifically who I am and why I'm in my situation. So again, on, what was it? Was it the Candace Owens We're Terrified of Kids These Days video? I think I mentioned the Mexican food truck example and the situation with them and how eventually they just made up this story in their head that like, I'm a pretty much the lazy black woman, quote unquote, and I feel like the systems are against me and everybody's against me, and it's my fault because I got kicked out of the house for having a baby. And I don't even think I look like I can have a baby. I'm pretty sure I don't. I don't think I could carry one, but I guess it's kind of whatever. But as I said before, it's always going to be annoying to me that immigrants can come over here at like 14 and stuff and get a job and somehow rent a place if they don't end up getting trafficked by the U.S. government or somebody else. Then they have their views on street kids that were born in the U.S. because street kids that are born in the U.S., when they're laying low, they're spending years of their life hiding from cops and people that want to call the police so they don't get thrown into some trafficking organization. And also have their life ruined with charges that are bullcrap. I'm not gonna lie though, usually people believe whatever age I tell them I am, especially in certain places where they have certain values and morals, but that was the first time I was ever accused of being in my late 20s. But it's still annoying though because I get the reason behind that and why she did that. And people have to stop acting like somebody's really going to be lying about their age. It kind of reminds me of like interview videos of street kids and people will be in the comments saying the person's lying and saying that they're younger to like make people feel bad. And it's like nobody's about to lie and say they're under 18. Definitely not, because that's just straight to jail. Like, I could also throw in the fact that nobody feels bad. Why? There's no reason to do that. You would get nothing out of it but jail or worse. And as I've talked about before in the past, like juvie, if you go there and not like adult jail, that's honestly going to be worse because when you're underage, you have less rights. Or really, when you're younger, you have less rights. But in cash for kids system placements, you have no rights whatsoever. You can't do any of the stuff that you see people doing in adult prisons. In fact, in adult prisons, a lot of people worry about getting assaulted by the inmates. In the youth prisons, you're worried about the staff. sometimes other people in there, but usually it's going to be the staff that you're worried about. But yeah, and as I've talked about before, the younger you are, the more people just feel like you're hiding from somebody or you did something and get kicked out. Which is very weird, especially due to the fact that like a lot of the homeless kids, especially on the West Coast, they're all foster kids. Just about. But still at the end of the day, even though I'm not homeless anymore, I've realized that as long as you're like doing, I don't know, an alternative lifestyle, I guess, people are always going to feel some type of way. But of course, still at the end of the day, oh dang, I never finished that last sentence. So I use these examples all the time, and I've made reaction videos to both. Or at least I made a reaction video to Nova's mom. I have a couple videos about the whole Billy situation. Those two videos right there, those couple of videos, or interviews that they did, quote-unquote interviews, those are good examples of how when you're anointed or prophetic and you're in these types of situations, or you're just like, I don't know, it seems like out too much, you're always going to run into let me help you lunatics. Nova's talked about people that claim that they were going to quote-unquote help her, but how everybody always wants money from her or something sexual. The Billy kid is the same with him, but also like the Daisy situation. Daisy is a perfect example of a let me help you lunatic, which I talk about in the videos where I react to the whole situation.
One thing I can say though is that you can see Nova's still out being trafficked, or quote-unquote prostituting as people are calling it, but Nova's still out being trafficked and making those YouTube videos and the OnlyFans videos she shouldn't be making, which is why I wouldn't advise even going on her Instagram, because you're probably just going to see stuff if it's back up, because she has to keep making new ones. The YouTube channel is still there though, but I mean, she talks on there, but it's like, I wouldn't if I was looking at any of it. That's just what I'm going to say. But you notice that she's still out here, but the Billy kid has been snatched back up by police and thrown into whatever institution or prison. Well, institution/prison. So they did whatever in the world with him a long time ago. Honestly, it might have been a year ago at this point. But Nova has still been out here.
Like, she is one of the best examples of a let me help you lunatic. But of course, most of them aren't exactly like on the borderline spectrum that she is. I mean, some of them, you couldn't say that they're borderline at all, but she's an example. A lot of them aren't really like her, but I mean, I've met some that were somewhat similar, but I would say maybe more like, maybe a little bit more narky, but still with like a lot of empathy. Kind of like the lady that I forgot to make another video about, where people kept trying to get me to meet this African lady because pretty much they were just tired of seeing me, to make a long story short. They were tired of seeing me walking around and stuff. And not tired in a good way. Not because they cared. And so, I kept saying no because I knew it was going to be some bullcrap, because for one, they kept telling me that she could quote-unquote help me. There was nothing I could do but lay low. And that's something that most people just don't care about. And to be truthfully honest, if you are in a situation where you really, really need help, or quote-unquote help, the one thing somebody actually could do to help you is let you live with them while you figure things out. But of course, if you're a street kid, most people aren't going to want to do that anyways. But it's just like how when you're living with your abusers, people say they don't want to help you, and sometimes the excuse will be because of your age. But I mean, trust me, people that say stuff like that, they wouldn't help you if you were 30. But yeah, if somebody's not offering that, they don't really want to help you. And just keep that in mind. Although I'll always say, you really shouldn't want to live with people. And I know like a lot of people, they really don't even have good enough discernment to really be like making those risks. By doing that, then they're not helping and they don't want to help. And me personally, I don't really do all that living with people stuff, especially not these people, obviously, because like they're always never good people. And it's like, it's not even that all of them are like necessarily bad. They're just like really, really toxic and abusive, and they don't see anything wrong with any of the stuff that they're doing to people. And that's what makes it really bad, because like some of them, they genuinely do care and want to help people, but then it's like, okay, where was I at before I went on that rant? Oh yeah, so people kept telling me about this quote-unquote African lady, and honestly, she wasn't even necessarily African, but I'm not even going to go into that. So, I knew from the first time I seen her that this was gonna be some mess and that she was gonna be all types of messed up. Honestly, she wasn't as bad as I thought she would be by looking in her eyes, but I mean, she was still, of course, exactly what I knew she would be, a let me help you lunatic. And there was this one situation where like she accused me of giving her scabies because she kept saying that she felt like she was itchy. This lady didn't have not one bump on her, but she kept saying she felt like she was itchy. And so she claimed I gave her scabies. And then she was like, if you really wanted my help, you would let me pay to send you to the clinic to get checked for scabies and to get treated for scabies because I know you gave me scabies. And
something that I'm pretty sure I forgot to mention when recording this is that one of the things, other than the fact that I didn't have scabies, obviously, is that if I would have went to this clinic, this would have got me turned in. Or I would have had to just, like, lie about my age. But, I mean, you can only really do stuff like that when you're, like, going to the homeless doctor, which I could have did that, but, like, to go to an actual regular doctor, you have to actually sign up, have medical insurance, which, of course, I couldn't get any of that stuff, use your SSN and things like that. So it's like, none of that would have even worked. And another thing is that somebody had told me that if it wasn't for the fact that I was homeless, then this lady probably would have wanted to date me or something.
It was just a whole bunch of mess. This is the one situation I can really remember with her. And, what else? Oh, yeah, so this lady came for this African drumming class, and she came from another state because the African lady lived at this thing that was like a quote-unquote art program place. And so, anywho, the lady that came for the drumming class had told me that honestly I really needed to get away from this lady because she was really toxic. It didn't seem like anything was coming out of the quote-unquote relationship. But to be truthfully honest, I don't even know what else to say. Like, just whenever people see or feel like you're in a situation, they're always saying you need quote-unquote help. And you keep telling them that you're helping yourself and you're doing what you can do at the moment, and there isn't anything else you can do. And they keep trying to tell you otherwise. Stay away from them, and stay away from the people that they send to quote-unquote help you. But yeah, she almost fell out of a chair screaming because I think it was something about actually she was trying to manipulate me with things like from my previous situation, which I never really tell people. But she did try to like force some stuff out of me. You gotta watch out for that too. And of course, I never had scabies in the first place. It was just like really an insult type accusation. Then there was also another situation that I really didn't like where she tried to manipulate me into not like camping and into staying with random people, random risky people. And that's something else I noticed, especially with like homeless women and women who weren't homeless on the West Coast, especially like really in Cali. They would always know these really predatory dudes that obviously were like rapists and molesters, but for whatever reason they would try to like push me around them, and I don't know if they had bad discernment or what. I do know that especially like a lot of the women that were on drugs around there, they would constantly get in the same situations over and over again where they would keep getting assaulted by different random people that they didn't know because they would keep getting in cars with random people to like get free drugs, and then they would act like they don't know what happened. And I mean, people can say that this shouldn't happen, and I mean it shouldn't, but it does. And it's like people pretty much want to drag you into making the same mistakes they keep making. And of course I wouldn't do it anyway, but this lady didn't want me to live with her, so she wanted to try to like push me into some bull crap, which of course I wasn't going to do it. I was already saying no. And then another dude was like, she shouldn't camp by this dude because he just got beat up the other day for molesting some other girls. So it's kind of like, what in the world? But I wouldn't have ever done it, of course. And then this lady tried to, I don't even think I actually ever told the story. She tried to manipulate me into not camping by telling me about how dangerous.
In fact, no, let me throw this part in. So, the lady was like, you need to be somewhere safe and all that bullcrap. The bullcrap people usually say. And so she started talking to this random dude that pretty much popped up out of nowhere. And he was like, yeah, there's an extra camping spot right by me, right by the lake. So he can assault me and then drown me or something. I wasn't about to go for that.
The world is by using this example of some boy that ended up assaulting and unaliving his friend because he was getting sodomized by his mom's boyfriend, and he was Asian. I really think that it was probably one of those situations. I think he was like adopted by some white lady, and then her and her boyfriend were abusing him. It was something like that. And of course he ended up going to jail, and the molesters, they never go to jail, but still, that situation where her neighbor, it was kind of a couple years old though, but just like, I hate when people use examples like that to try to like scare people. And that's an example of things that go on in quote unquote functional society. And the real issue there was child abuse, but it's like she tried to make it, it's just weird that she tried to use that example to scare me. It's like out of anything she could have used, she used that.
In fact, I could throw in another situation where a whole nother lady tried to get me to move in with some chomo dude that was also racist and really halfway even liked me. Well, not even moving with him because I couldn't do that because of his roommates, but to live in his car. And that was because, quote unquote, me camping wasn't safe. And you notice that me being by myself in the woods where there's nobody else at and it's just me and I'm fine and doing well isn't safe, but the alternative to that is me living with random molesters. And another thing with these women is that they never actually knew these people. They would literally pretend to know people that they just met, whose names they didn't even know, just to try to control me into doing what they wanted me to do because, quote unquote, they're grown and I'm not safe.
But anyways, back to the lady that I recently asked for directions. So, what happened was, because I'm trying to remember the little bits and pieces, she went on this rant about how she's always liked to help people, which I'm pretty sure I've already said like 19 times, and then how people always tell her not to help people because when you help people, they use you. And then she was like, but I still want to give people chances, and I don't like any of that. And like I said, the situation wasn't even that serious. She's acting like I really asked her for like, I don't know, like something that was really worth something. Like acting like some type of Superman over someone asking about directions and people who do hair. That's like doing too much, to be honest. But yeah, the same familiar spirit in a different person. And of course, when you walk away from people like this, you're quote unquote disrespectful because they're grown and stuff like that. Avoid people that run around saying I'm grown at all costs. They're toxic. They have a toxic form of age regression. They're usually Jezebelic. If they're not Jezebelic, I mean, they have something that can be considered a quote unquote PD, or maybe they're a schizo narc. They have no accountability. They really just have this complex about them because they were tortured their whole childhood and when they were younger, so now that they're quote unquote grown, they feel like they should do the same stuff to other people because they're quote unquote grown now. Stay away from people that run around saying I'm grown. Always. And due to the fact that she was making me nervous and uncomfortable, I started like reaching in my pockets for snacks and stuff because like that's what I do when I'm nervous. And if my hair is out, I like will start touching my hair and stuff. And so she asked me about why I kept reaching in my pockets and telling me about how I should never do that. And I was like, yeah, I know, because like people get paranoid pretty much. I've had people think that I wanted to shoot them just for looking in their direction before, so I could get that. Also the whole quote unquote we're scared of kids these days crap. And so I said, well, I didn't say all of that, but I said like, I know it makes people like scared or paranoid and feel like I'm gonna like do something, but I was just nervous. And then of course she was like, ain't nobody scared or paranoid around here, it's not about that. And you say you're 25. Because I usually try to tell people that I'm like 25, and then she was like, I'm 50 years old, the usual stuff. And it's like, or well, really, she was like, I've been alive for over 50 years, and I just know things, and I've been in different lines of work, and when people start reaching in their pocket, something, because everything becomes a repressed memory. I was in the Cash for Kids system. I had to make videos about everything that happened right then and right after the fact, or I'd have to like take notes and then make the video later off the notes, because other than that, it became a repressed memory and I wouldn't remember anything that happened pretty much. So yeah, the situation wasn't really all that serious, but A lot of people have issues where they feel like they should tell you that they know more and they know what's better for you because they're a certain age and you should listen to them because of that. And there's just a lot I could say about that.
I'm not gonna lie though, I still feel like going on that I'm grown, I'm over 50 years old rant because of me reaching in my pockets. I don't really know what that really had to do with Jack, but whatever though. But oh yeah, another thing, I don't really know if what I was saying in the video or what I have recorded in the audio was making sense. I know commonly some things I say don't really make sense because like I forget that I know what I'm talking about but other people don't know what I'm talking about, and I think that's because throughout my life I've been too isolated and I've spent too much time talking to myself in my head than other people. But yeah, I'll just describe it in like the description though, because this will end up way too long.
And what's really messed up about it is when you're in like situations when you're actually homeless. It's like people want to tell you stuff about being a street kid when you're homeless, but it's like there are no other options. There's nowhere else for you to go. That's what makes that annoying to a lot of people, because it's like people want to try to fearmonger you and scare you and things like that, as if you like have options or chose the situation.
They'll say you're being grown and bad, and Freddy Krueger's gonna drive up in a Volkswagen, and he's gonna stick his claws into you and pull you in the car and do all types of stuff to you and things like that. And it's like, I mean, that could happen, but at the end of the day, you really shouldn't hope for that to happen, and there aren't really any other options. And it's like, it's just annoying.
Because of course, as long as you're under 30, people also feel like you're hiding from somebody, you did something to get kicked out and you have somewhere to be that you're not at. It also reminds me of something somebody said once, where they were like, people always feel like women have somewhere to go. When they find out that that's not true, it rocks their world and makes them mad at you. Which I guess that's a bar as well, or it could be a poem. I never finished the last thing I was supposed to be saying, as usual. So, that last little situation that I mentioned with the whole I'm over 50 years old, it reminds me of something I learned in the Jim Crow self-confined placement from this one boy that was always getting called slow, and the staff were always making jokes about him saying that he couldn't read and stuff. And then eventually they admitted that this placement wasn't for quote-unquote mental illness or for people being quote-unquote retarded, and that if we were mentally ill or retarded, we'd be somewhere worse, which would be GNet. And I thought I was in GNet already, but that's another video. So this one boy, whenever the staff were manipulating him and were gaslighting him about different stupid stuff, he would just be like, yeah, you're right. And he was doing it because he didn't understand he was being gaslit. He didn't really understand that we were being abused. So he was really believing it. But what that taught me, or what the self-confined placement taught me in general, was to gray rock. That taught me that the only way to get out of certain situations is to gray rock and stonewall. That's all you can really do. But this can be dangerous for some people, so it doesn't work for every situation. But it works for certain abuse. In fact, this was the point in time where I even had a lady tell me, never argue with people that have the ability to ruin your life. And I wouldn't say that this lady with I'm over 50 years old situation has the ability to ruin my life, but she could like act like I'm the bad guy and I'm the crazy person or something and just spread rumors about me. That would make a lot of people in the area feel some type of way about me, which is why honestly I'm just gonna try to avoid that area anyways and avoid her. So I probably won't even be back over there, but I don't know. Still though, it's like all you can really do is gray rock. Maybe I should have just did the whole yeah.
But I guess I can't really say that I'm not going to be back over there because I'm usually near the library, so. In fact, I spend a lot of my time at the library. Everywhere I go, I usually do that. I think a lot of people do when they travel. Or when they're full-blown homeless, because like, I don't know, I just personally like the library, but it's a good place to spend your time. Especially in the South, in areas where like they don't have all the Abbott and Allied. At least not to the extent that a lot of other places do. And like the infrastructure, whatever you want to call it, is like a little lower, I guess. So you don't have to worry about some police officer threatening to lock you up in jail or ban you every time they think you're asleep. And you don't have to worry about like people constantly walking around the library harassing you. People being security, really. Because that stuff is really annoying. It makes you not want to go anywhere.
You're right thing, after the whole hands in the pocket comment. It makes me think back to the Nova girl. The Slab City one, not the soft white underbelly one. It makes me think about why she never really wants to talk about the bad moments. And I mean, I already understood why, but I understand more and more every day. Because if she was to make posts about different bad things that happen in different situations she's been in or situations she is in, she already knows people that are older than her are going to be like, that's what happens when you try to be grown, and you should have never left home, quote unquote home, in the first place, and if you would never did this and this wouldn't happen and this is all your fault because blah 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 blah, and there's always going to be people that are going to be like, I told you, and you think the world is cute, which is honestly bull crap. People always say stuff like that, but I hate people say stuff like that. It's like, if the world was cute, whatever that really means, people wouldn't be in the situations they're in the first place. But yeah, so I don't really know what to say about. Oh yeah, because like when I mention some things that happen, people will be like, see, that's because this and you did this, and if you weren't doing that, and that's because of the situation you're in or you're putting yourself in, and we're older than you so we know better, stuff like that. Which is why honestly, that's a small reason why I've stopped talking to people years ago.
But I mean, I guess I have to expect for people to like say bull crap to me whenever I talk about little mishaps that happen, and it's like, sometimes some of the things I mentioned didn't even happen. Like, since I started, I don't know, traveling more, they happened back when I was still staying with relatives. But it's like, I mean, what in the world? I mean, if you live in Georgia, you're never going to be able to leave the house. Or, well, a lot of places, but Georgia's a good example. If you live there, you're never going to be able to leave the house without somebody trying to assault you or, like, lure you into something. You can't even walk to the store or, like, go to the bus stop without stuff like that happening. Or, like, one example, me getting, I guess, jumped to a certain extent at a bus station or bus stop. Because, like, the dude thought that, like, I had money, or at least the demons were telling him I had money, and they were telling him jokes about me. And I looked in his eyes for too long, and then the demons started telling him whatever. And then he started looking at them and laughing, and they were telling him whatever about me. And then he came and, like, tried to, quote-unquote, rob me for money I really didn't have, which is kind of funny. And, like, people will say if you were, like, with your parents and at home in the house, and that wouldn't have happened. But it's like, there's a lot I could say about that. Like, whether my parents even had a house or not. But anywho, first of all, unless I'm hiding in the house all day and I never go anywhere, stuff like that is bound to happen, at least sometimes. Because, I mean, even if I was living in a place with whoever, I'd still have to go places and I still have to catch the bus sometimes. So, I mean, I still could have got jumped regardless. Like, me getting beat up at the bus station will happen regardless of whether I'm living wherever. And that's just one example. And it's like, I can't drive. What else was I gonna say? I don't even know what else to say about that, but yeah, I can't drive, so I mean, I'm gonna be riding public transportation a lot, or else I'm gonna be walking, so things can happen anyways. And, like, your parents shouldn't be holding your hand every time you go anywhere to do anything. Or either they're holding you hostage in the house. So it's like, people try to, like, fearmonger you with stuff that could happen regardless. Like, a lot of people, they live with their parents and they have people run up and try to kidnap them while they're at school. Or while they're at their school bus stop or at Disney World, because that's what those places are made for anyway. So it's like, I mean, things happen regardless.
And why I really do need to go live in a cave again. Or live on a cliff again, I mean. But honestly, maybe a cave.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say, but it's like people, they just spend all their time hiding up in the house, and that's what's been normalized in society, hiding in the house their whole life, never seeing anything, never doing anything. getting beat on by your cousins your whole life and never actually having a life, or like going your own way, just following the norm. And people go to the grave doing that, depressed and angry.
The next time, but if you want to be truthfully honest, as I always say and as many people say, outdoors has always been a coping mechanism and better for me than anywhere else. For me and many others, as long as like we're not in areas with like cops or cities, we get better sleep, just peace, finally being in a situation that's not chaotic. And I just like being outside more. I'm also allergic to building chemicals and I get really sick indoors. I mean, I definitely see like how it's better and the convenience of it, but it's like when you have certain health issues and being indoors makes you sick because of the building chemicals and the mold, it kind of defeats the purpose of being indoors because you can't do anything because you're throwing up and coughing and sneezing all day. Like, aside from the sleep deprivation abuse, I can finally look back and know why I could never really sleep indoors because I'm allergic to the building chemicals.
And an example is like, I mean, if you want to get a job or you're like supposed to be going to school or something, but you're too sick to do that and you're throwing up all day and you can't even wake up in the morning because you can't really sleep or you're just too sick and you're not falling asleep till 12 p.m. in the afternoon, but you laid down at like 9 the night before, that really kind of defeats the purpose of being indoors in the first place, especially if like when you're outdoors, you're able to actually go to sleep at night and you fall asleep by 5 p.m. and you wake up at 6 a.m.
But also, since leaving my previous situation, I no longer have to eat foods or be places that make me more sick. But the issue with that is, my body got used to not having to do those things for a long time. So now, when I am in those situations again, or those places again, or I'm eating certain things again, I get more sick than I did before. But that's also because like the iatrogenic effects got worse, and so like my organ health went down more. Because I do feel like if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have ever got as sick as I did the last time I lived in mold. It was overall not even just because of like the iatrogenic organ damage, but really the insulin resistance and metabolic issues. Because my body couldn't function because like I couldn't digest food and stuff, but I was being gaslit so much about it, I wasn't working on those issues, and so I got really malnourished and it made it harder for my body to even fight anything. So that was like the bigger issue, but still. But anywho, still, like, aside from even the whole whatever I just mentioned, because I don't really remember, I'd still say that, like, nowhere is safe, nothing's ever going to be safe, but everybody can't do the whole hide in the hood where all your friends got killed or hide in the house all day thing. And, yeah. And it's like, of course, I'm going to, like, not have to be outside all the time anymore, but I've always liked being outside, and I like to spend most of my time out there. Like, a lot of issues that were, like, really big issues for me, I was able to, like, get better and get over all of that just from staying outside, because it just helps so much with so many different things. And, I mean, camping in cities and stuff isn't the best, especially certain ones, but like a lot of people think that the wilderness is scary, that a bear is going to attack you if you camp in the woods and different things like that. None of that stuff is, I mean, it could happen if you're somewhere with bears, but that's not guaranteed to happen. You definitely don't have to camp somewhere with bears. People are just like way too used to the Matrix and staying in the house all day. Like, so many people have never been anywhere. Like, one thing that was always crazy to me was people that live off the government and have like their...
Something I could throw in is that people really don't believe their safety outside of playing Grand Theft Auto and sitting on the couch all day.
39 kids, and their rent is free, everything is free. They don't have to worry about being trapped or having to pay anything, but they still won't even go travel or see the country before like the 15-minute city stuff happens. They won't even do that, but they don't have the stuff to worry about that a lot of people have to worry about that makes them scared to go anywhere. because they worry about like losing their job and stuff like that, and they still won't see anywhere. So it's like, what in the world? And lastly, the people that have the most to say about how they would never camp, they're too scared to camp anywhere, they would never camp in the woods, which you don't even have to worry about the animals, it's people you have to worry about. Like, people, I don't even know what to say about that. It's just so annoying. It's like being scared that a pack of coyotes is gonna, like, attack you or something. And all they do is run from people, to be honest. But the people that have the most to say about that, they're always people where the things that happen to them happen in functional society. Like, one example, someone got, essayed in school, all the abuse with their parents, drugged and essayed by quote-unquote fake friends. All this stuff happened in functional society by people in their circle. But they're saying that camping, especially like even in the woods, is dangerous, but all the things that you're worried about happening to you, happen to you, 1, by people, 2, by people you know, and 3, in functional society, quote unquote.